Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name is Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor. In today's video, we're talking about how I got started in property investing. And I wanted to talk about my very first property investment. But there are some principles in this that anybody can take on and understand why I chose certain properties and what I did to get started. So before we get into the video, if you could possibly give it a big like, if you enjoy this sort of transparency, it massively helps me out with the algorithm. And if you haven't already subscribed, why not consider subscribing? Half of the people that watch these videos have not subscribed as of yet. And remember, we have our subscriber dividend portfolio, which has currently got about £4,500 in. And I'm going to put another £2,000 in every month from next month onwards. We were doing 1,000, but I really want to supercharge that up so that you guys can get more involved in the passive income journey. And I've got more dividends to pay out. So every single month, around the 10th of every month, we pay out the dividends from that portfolio to our subscribers. And all you've got to do to enter is comment in one of those videos. So guys, let's get into the video and let's talk about my first investment property and what I bought. So it was 2010, I'm currently 40. Roll that back, I'm 28 years old. And we had saved up for a while, me and my wife, at the time girlfriend, and we had managed to get together about £30,000. It took us a couple of years to save that up. We had a few gifts from family members. We were getting married. There was lots of things going on, but ultimately we had about 30 grand. And we were being told it's a terrible time to buy. And in lots of respects it was. Credit was hard to come by. There was a significant housing crash that was underway, 2008, 2009, and we completed in January 2010, which means we were buying at the bottom of the market. We didn't know that at the time. We just knew that lots of people were saying now's a bad time to buy. But ultimately, we needed somewhere to live and we had done our sums. And this is the important thing. We bought, instead of just buying a property for us to live in, and we had two choices: a studio apartment in Canada Water, which we could have lived in together, or a 3-bedroom house in a town called Erith, which is in Zone 5 of London. Now, the big difference between those two things, as far as I could see, is the 3-bedroom house, we could rent out the 2 spare bedrooms for £1,000 a month. Our mortgage payment, if I remember right, it was £626 a month. Now, if you're bringing in 1,000, your mortgage is 626, once all your bills and everything have been taken care of, you've got no outgoings, really. So for me, that was the no-brainer. Now, my wife, she wanted the flat. I wanted to have an investment. We agreed eventually that it was more sensible for our future to take a little bit of pain now, and we bought the 3-bed. So what did that mean for us? Well, overnight, we went from paying our rent, paying our bills, all those things that we had in our flat that we rented, to having basically no overheads. And that meant we could save up a huge amount of money between 2010 and 2015, as well as increase our lifestyle. And this is where maybe old Mark and new Mark are a little bit different, because I definitely took a lot of lifestyle back then. I would play golf most weekends, I was shooting all the time, I was spending a lot more money than I might do at the moment. And if I could go back in time, I'd have probably bought the second property a bit quicker. That said, in 2015, we had the opportunity to refinance this property, and we did, for $275,000, releasing, I think it was about $70,000 once all the fees and everything were taken care of, into our bank account. So we had 70 grand there. I know we'd saved up about 30 or 40, and we then bought house number 2, which was down in Didcot. It was a Shelford. It was a brand new house from Taylor Wimpey. And this was bought again for us to live in. And there was this happy accident that took place. Back then, I'm still not really thinking about property investing in the true sense of the word, like how can I get the best ROI? I'm focusing on building my businesses. But I made a happy mistake. We bought a 4-bedroom house, and the property's layout just lent itself completely by chance to becoming a 6-bed HMO later on down the line. And this is what I wanted to do, was talk to you about the floor plan, because if I could go back in time, I mean, this was a very, very smart purchase. The study downstairs was too small. So what we had to do in order to turn it into a 6-bedroom HMO was just extend this out a little bit. We also didn't have enough bathrooms, but you can see the washroom's huge. It's got a wire dryer, washing machine, all that sort of stuff in the toilet. We took out the washing machine and dryer and we put in a shower room and kept the toilet in there. So it became another bathroom. So this became a bathroom. The study got extended. There was still enough room in the hallway, and it became a 6-bedroom HMO. And that in itself brings in 4,000. Well, it's about 4,050. The average room rent is $675. Now, Obviously, some of the rooms are bigger, like the ensuite upstairs. I know that one's 800 a month. That one's 700. The small study one, which is still good size, but I think it's about 600 a month. So it just varies, but ultimately, the whole package brings in about 4 grand a month. If you said 2 grand of that's costs today, it's probably about right. So we earn average income from that property alone. Now, obviously, mortgage rates are going up. That one's fixed till 2026. I'm very, very fortunate. So whilst we've got quite a big mortgage on it at the moment, that property is bringing in a very, very good monthly profit. And what I wanted to talk about really was when we bought these houses, we used residential mortgages, although we eventually refinanced them both onto commercial products. You know, that's on a HMO mortgage, the original property. We still own it. It's currently worth probably about 425,000. We still own this property over in Erith. 3 bedrooms, semi-detached, really nice plot, 425,000 today. I mean, that's a very, very good profit. And my ethos has always been, if you can cut down on the number of transactions that you do, and we worked this out very, very early on, that we could get most of the money out after paying all the taxes, the fees, if we just refinanced. So we decided that on most properties, it's just best to hold. So this property, we lived in it. We then, when we moved out, we rented where we lived because we knew that we wanted to rent something big. There was a lot of stamp duty if we were going to buy it, and it would also tie up a lot of capital, and we turned this into a HMO. And today, that property alone, as I said, brings in an average UK salary all by itself. Now, in total now, I've got 15 properties. I've got £3.5 million worth. I've also got £1.7 million worth of debt before anybody thinks this is any kind of brag. It really isn't. And it's taken me an awful long time to buy 14 properties, you know, from 2010 till now. It's averaging only about 1 a year. And if you bear in mind that for the first 5 years, I only managed to get 2, you can see I didn't attack it with much intent. And that's the truth. There wasn't a lot of intent back then. And it's when I switched to having more intent with the mixture of more capital that I was able to build my portfolio significantly. Now today, I'm in a position where I'm quite comfortable where I am. Obviously, with everything that's going on in the market, I'm holding a little bit back. I think there will be opportunity, I'll buy more properties. But if you're out there and you're renting somewhere, and maybe you're looking for your first property, is it a good time to buy? Well, you know what? We don't know what the future holds. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a great time. I was being told all the time back in 2010, this was an awful time to be buying. Well, 2009, you shouldn't buy. Credit's hard to come by. House prices are going down. They're going to go down even further. As it turns out, it was the bottom of the market. So we just don't know what the future holds, I guess, is my point there. And what we did on this was really look at it on face value. That if at the moment we're spending 2 grand a month on rent, bills, and all the rest, if we buy the property, rent out the spare rooms, and we're then paying 0 for the mortgage and bills and all the rest, well, we're 2 grand a month better off. And even if it dropped by 20 grand that year and 20 grand the year off, we would still net be about the same. So I remember justifying it to myself just like that. And I think today, if you're in rented accommodation and you're looking at properties around that sort of price, even if it dropped by 10%, you probably, if you're renting out the spare rooms, for example, the same as me, the same scenario, even if it dropped by 10%, you're net about the same. You're no worse off. It would have to go down significantly over the next 5 years for that to happen. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, but we just don't know. So that's my journey. That's how I started. First house over in Erith. My second house, I don't mind saying, is in Didcot. Today, this one's worth about 600,000. That one's 425. My biggest takeaway from all of this was that the first property I bought, and everything that I bought, I've tried to make sure that we can make money out of. The second one was going to be our family home. It was going to be our forever home. I don't mind admitting that either. I was dreaming small back then, you know. A Taylor Wimpey 4-bed was my forever home. Today, I've got much bigger dreams. But honestly, the happy accident of being able to turn this into a 6-bedroom HMO makes that a fantastic investment with hindsight. If I was buying that again today, the only thing I would maybe change is they did a different model that was slightly more expensive, but had slightly more space and a couple of extra en-suites. I would have only had to pay an extra 40 grand for the property when I bought it, and the rent on the back end, if I knew that I was going to be moving out, because the en-suites in Didcot go for £800 to £900 a month, would have been much more. Today, by the time I kicked a tenant out, done the refurbishment, taken a month or two's loss on an empty room, it's just not worth doing. So I'm going to keep it as it is. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. That is the beginning of my journey. I've been asked to do another video about my whole journey, which I will do at some point, but hopefully this gives you a flavour for what I've done so far and helps you on your future as well. Cheers, guys.